Good evening, everybody. Welcome to The Notebook, a cautionary tale about two star-crossed lovers. Fell in love as teenagers, but one of them fecked off a married rich guy. But here they are tonight. They're back. It's the Kevin J Show with the obligatory Busted Sofa book. I hope Kevin has brought his notebook as well.
Oh, of course I have, mate.
Show us. He has a notebook. I love it. So here we are, guys. Two notebooks, two quips. What could possibly go wrong? Or somebody would probably say, all right. So, Kevin, my friend, let's get the show on the road.
Yes. I was first of all going to say just an introduction. There'll be a lot of people thinking, where is Mark Goldbridge? What the hell's going on? So let's get it out of the way, man. I am Lee Mack. Yes, I am. I'm very funny. And the man to the side of me used to be in an Irish boy band. The other lad was called Edward. They put the names together, Jay and Edward. They got Jedward, very clever, and they were crap. But he's better at talking about football. Fair play to you, Jay.
I've just lost all my love for you, Kevin, in one fell swoop.
I'm sorry, mate. Sorry. Had to be done.
That's okay.
First ever
Sometimes
show.
right
I had to land the first low blow. But I'm waiting for yours because it will floor me.
Oh, we shall see. So, here we are, second place. 1 point out of 9. After numerous drab, lackluster, uninspiring performances. On the cusp of a Europa League final. Kevin, I'm a very confident individual in my normal, everyday life. Some might say that I'm overconfident. But hey, at least my body writes checks it can cash, unlike a certain goalkeeper that we won't mention. We will, Dean Henderson. We will mention, of course we will. So here we are, Europa League final in less than a week, 1 point out of 9. And, you know, we're talking off air that we're on 71 points. That's 5 points better off than last season. And should we lose against Wolves, lose against Villarreal, it's a case to be answered for Mr. Solskjaer. Would Mr. Solskjaer get the bullet? What do you think?
I think if we look back to the start of the season and hypothetical question, you look at it and you say Manchester United are going to finish second. A lot of Manchester United fans would have took it. It's purely on the fact that Liverpool did so well last season. Hate Liverpool. But anyway, yeah. Manchester City as well. There was nobody near them, right? So to say that Manchester United were going to finish second, you would have looked at it and thought it's going to be a good season for Manchester United. You can also ask the question, right, well, you're going to finish second and win the Europa League. If you ask that question at the start of the season, you go, well, wait a minute, we're in the Champions League. So that suggests that we're going to drop out of the Champions League. So you wouldn't really want that. Does it affect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if Manchester United do not win next week's Europa League final against Villarreal? I don't think this is a free hit for him. I personally do not think that it affects his job at Manchester United. But at the same time, I don't think it's a free hit for him. I would be interested on your thoughts, Jay, because I've got an inkling that you're probably going to go against me on that one. But my point is, there is progression at Manchester United and a second place finish. As much as we all want to be winning Premier League titles like we have done in the past, a second place finish this season, it's progression. But what I would say is next season, the honeymoon period for me with Solskjaer is over. If he can get the players in that the board go out to get him, and I mean the ones that he identifies and says, I want Sancho, I want this, that. If he gets them players and next season we fall short, no trophies, then I'm totally with it. People will call me deluded or whatever. I've had enough of change at Manchester United. We've been through, David Moyes was a nightmare, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho. At this moment in time, I do feel like United are building towards something, but a Europa League win, that first trophy under Solskjaer, is so important confidence-wise for this group of players. But Jay, I would ask you, obviously flip the question back at you, because I have got a slight feeling that you're probably going to go against me on this and say that it wouldn't be viewed as progression, and probably Solskjaer would have to win the Europa League?
All credit to realism at the end of the day. Like, had I been told last August we're getting second, I would have bit your hand off, because nobody would have foreseen the implosion of Liverpool FC. It was the worst title defence since Andy Ruiz got fatter, if that was possible, and then got smacked by Anthony Joshua. That's how bad this title defence was by Liverpool. Nobody could have foreseen that. And let's look, the Scummy Scousers come the weekend could probably stumble into top four, which I would despise if that happened. I want them playing Thursdays in Ukraine, same as we had last season. See how they get on and see how it affects their form in the Premiership. Because a lot of fans don't get the fact that that Thursday-Sunday transition does not work. I don't know, is it psychologically for the players or what is it? But a Tuesday, Champions League, or Wednesday, and you're playing Saturday, it seems to me, historically, those teams that are playing Champions League and playing Premiership on that cycle perform better in the Premiership all year. I'll take you back to Solskjaer's first season in 2019. Playing 4-3-3, got the job, because we all rode the wave of emotion. Even bloody Woodward was on that ship. Everyone was at the wheel, because the car was massive, because the emotion and groundswell behind Solskjaer was so positive. And we all bought into it. I even bought into it. And I'm probably the most pragmatic, grounded character on the show. Even on my radio show in Ireland, I bought into it with my producer, and totally liked me. But Jesus, once he got the job, the wheels fell off the season. We got, I remember one game stands out. We got hammered 4-0 by Everton. Do you remember that game?
Mm-hmm. Terrible.
Yeah, and there was a litany of terrible results, because he went from the 4-3-3, free-flowing football, United way, whatever team you want to put in it, to his 4-2-3-1. Now, credit due, it was a much better Matic at that time, and it was Ananda Herrera, whom should never have left the club. Last season, the best thing that happened to us last season was lockdown, ironically, as a club. Because prior to lockdown, we hadn't got a balls-ass chance in hell of getting top four. Our form post-lockdown was the best form, I would argue, in European football. We were unbeatable. But we got to the month of May, and again, the wheels started to fall off. So what is it with this team of players come the month of May? Are they already on the beach? Is it lack of motivation? Or is it simply they haven't recovered from their efforts put in April and March? Does the case be answered? There's 3 seasons in a row, month of May, and literally the wheels have fallen off our season. I said in the show on Sunday, I know I'm repeating myself, we started off the season with a whimper. 3 wins out of 6. We are now finishing the season with a whimper. It is imperative that we win the Europa League. The importance of that squad of players getting their hands on their first trophy, I firmly believe that could be the catalyst that could put this club on a 5-year transition to actually winning the real Champions League ultimately and the Premiership. That is what I want. However, if it doesn't happen, would I be all out? Yeah, I would. I would be all out, because I would be done. I take your point, Kevin. You'll give it to next season, and then you make your assessment then. That's totally fine. I think he has a much better squad than Mourinho ever had, player for player. But his tactics, this McFred game in, game out. I know some of the people in the Freaks now are going to say that we're almost been hard on McFred, because my eyes don't lie to me, Kevin. Your eyes don't lie to you either. We're watching football between us probably 40 years or 45 years, a long time. We've seen proper midfielders in our club. We've seen Robson, Keano, Carrick, Scholes. List goes on. And now we've got McFred protecting a very weak back four. Like Brett on our show this morning, as a dinger stats came out with, we conceded more goals this season than we have in 58 years. And that's with an 80 million Harry Maguire, a 40 million Victoria Lindelof, and I am calling him that, and I'm not being sexist, but that's what I'm putting on him because he's outmanned and outmuscled time in, time out. And then Luke Shaw, he's been amazing. Hats off Luke Shaw. But there's been a drop off from Luke Shaw the last 2 or 3 games, and we have to acknowledge that. He's had an amazing season. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka, again, he's had a very good season. So that defense probably up on 200 million worth of talent. So 200 million, Kevin, doesn't buy a lot these days, clearly. If we're conceding the most goals in 58 years.
This has been, a strange season. We both know that. A statistic that come out today, Manchester United, 19 home games this season, 9 wins. You tell me any season, any title challenging team, usually, your home games are the ones that you bankers, you make that a fortress. You look at Liverpool last year at Anfield. Now, whether there's been a drop-off in the intensity of the play because fans are not in grounds or whatever, well, you could argue that yesterday with 10,000 in, it didn't really inspire Manchester United. But, it's just simply not good enough. But the mind-boggling thing then, Jay, is you look at it and it's like our away form has been up there. How do you answer a question like that when you're searching? How have these players not been able to get up for games at Old Trafford? Or is it the away teams are coming to Old Trafford now and not fearing Manchester United because there's not the roar of the Stretford end? There's not the crowd baiting, on them. It really, when I read that statistic today, I'm like, 9 home wins in 19 at Old Trafford. I mean, in our time, especially going through the Sir Alex Ferguson era, it's unheard of, isn't it? I'm scratching my head, mate.
Kevin, you hit the nail on the head there. The fear factor of coming to Old Trafford hasn't been there since 2013. We had turgid football under David Moyes. Like, I'm not going to go over all history, but how Moyes got the job was beyond me. I didn't get that appointment whatsoever. I was shocked when he got that job. Van Gaal, I thought, okay, you brought Haaland to a World Cup semi-final. You're going to get some results with us. But what does he do? He gets rid of Welbeck, gets rid of Van Persie, and and Hernandez. Our only striker was Rooney. So that was for the Van Gaal era. Listen, I wanted Jose. I'm not going to lie, and I thought Jose was the man to take over from Alex in 2013. I think he should have taken over from Alex in 2013.
Totally agree.
It's a case of who knows. I firmly believe Jose takes over even that squad in 2013. Got 3 signings. It would have been normal service would have continued. I've got no doubt.
Totally agree.
No
totally
doubt
agree,
whatsoever.
Because Jose Mourinho at that time would have inherited a team of title winners. You still had the likes of Vidic, Ferdinand. These were all winners. And I think that's where Manchester United went wrong with the appointment of Moyes. Bring him in, and all of a sudden you've got all these Premier League winners. These were born winners, won everything under the great manager Sir Alex Ferguson. Next minute, you've got David Moyes trying to tell, what was it, Rio Ferdinand to watch videos of Phil Jagielka on how to defend. And that is a true story, right? And if you're Rio Ferdinand, you'd be like, seriously? And then he did little things, and at the end of the day, them players must have looked around at David Moyes at some stage and they must have been like, what has he ever done? I think he got Everton at the Champions League once, and that was it. It was a monumental mess up, and it just shows how our club has been mismanaged for years. There's so many things in there, Jay.
Yeah, I'll give a little analogy there of the David Moyes thing. It's like the times I go to gyms in Ireland when gyms are open, and I'm doing my thing. And lo and behold, you'll have some young fella who just passed some Mickey Mouse weekend course online will come over to me and say, I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing that wrong. Okay, I'm like, first of all, are you actually blind? Do you have eyes? And I sit there, I'll let it have his spiel. And I respond, look, mate, come back to me when you've won 4 national titles. Then we'll talk. Now piss off. Moyes had won nothing. Took over the manager role of our club and then got rid of the entire backroom team. Enough said. So we could spend an hour speaking about Moyes, my love for Jose Mourinho, and the Van Gaal sideways backwards football. Actually, some of the best afternoon naps I had was when Van Gaal was manager. I literally was waking up, listening to the pundits afterwards. I fell asleep during the games. They were that bad.
Jay, I remember being at a match at Old Trafford, and a fella, I think he'd come over from Ireland, like yourself, probably likes a pint of Guinness and all that, actually fell asleep in the crowd. Everybody was taking pictures of him. Next minute, it's up on the internet. He's internet famous, man, for falling asleep. And it was in the newspapers the next day, Louis, Bore Fest. And it was every week, man, Louis Van Gaal, the football, that shit that everyone's falling asleep at Old Trafford.
I can actually now, in my mind's eye, vaguely remember that picture. And just now, as you touch on newspapers, we better cover the news. I know we want to go off on our own tangents and have the crack and bounce off each other, but we'll have to cover the news. Yes. The Harry Kane signing, aka the FIFA signing. For me, us buying Harry Kane, it's like you've got a broken dishwasher, a broken fridge, and your heating is gone. But the husband goes out, comes back to the wife. Love, look what I got. I got us a 60-inch TV. Aren't I fantastic? That is my notion of us getting Harry Kane. That starting 11 is broken from, we said 1,000 times, Kevin, a right winger, CDM, and centre back. And I know it's Groundhog Day. We're repeating this over and over and over and over again. The people in the free seats are repeating it. We've seen it in super chats. But yet Solskjaer has come out on record and said he wants to sign another striker. And Harry Kane seems to be the heir apparent. So we have to okay, if we had a transfer budget of 300 million, yeah, I'd sign Harry Kane. Of course I would. Mm-hmm. Harry Kane's going to come in at 28. Yeah, he's injury prone. He's probably going to be out about 6-7 weeks per season with his ankle, and his ankle is dodgy. There's no question about it. It is. He's 28, and that ankle injury, I think, is going to repeat and repeat and repeat. It's like a basketball player who injures their ankle the first time in the NBA. That injury repeats over and over again. So that ankle injury for Harry Kane, I think, don't get me wrong, Harry Kane is the best striker England have produced, for me, since Gary Lineker. For me. I rate Lineker over Shearer, personally. That's just me. I rate Harry Kane as a player. I totally do. He's obviously a leader. I watched him on the Amazon Prime Spurs documentary, and I know a lot of fans would slag off Harry because he's not good interviews or whatever. But I saw a lot of good leadership qualities in that Amazon Prime to make me believe that man could actually step into a leadership role. But we have to park that because, Kevin, we don't have a transfer budget of 300 million. We don't. And then, even if we had, we have to put faith into Matt Judge, Ed Woodward, to negotiate with the phrase I coined, the very cute and astute Daniel Levy. And then
we know from
today as well. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jay. I was going to say we know from in the past dealing with Tottenham, the likes of Michael Carrick, Berbatov, we paid what we would class as the Daniel Levy fee because we are Manchester United. Somehow we are referred to as a direct rival to Tottenham. I never quite understood that. It's a bit like Tottenham being involved in the so-called Super Six, the European Breakaway League. I was like, so how did they get involved in that? Is it because they got this nice shiny stadium or whatever? That'll look good. Tottenham have not won a trophy for 10 years? Never won the Premier League. How are they part of the Big Six? But back to my thing, Jay, is you're right on Daniel Levy. It's like if we get into some kind of bidding war for Harry Kane, he's a very clever man. He's a businessman. You wouldn't call him a football man, probably a bit like Woodward, but he's actually probably good at what he does. And he will get the best fee for Tottenham. And that is the be-all, end of.
Actually, I'd go back to that documentary on Amazon Prime. Danny Levy in that, he's not wearing a suit and tie. Now, maybe it's staged, you could say staged, but he's dressing pretty much normally. And there's a lot of scenes where he's in Marina's office and they're talking football. They're actually talking football, talking about players. So he comes across in that documentary. Now, I know you can say, yeah, they've edited the best bits to make Levy look fantastic. Whether they have or they haven't, that documentary would never be made at our club. We wouldn't do it because our club loves the propaganda spin too much. Like, our club is so zoned in on their own PR and propaganda. Two of the photographers that took pictures of the protest there a few weeks ago, official photographers, I might add, for official newspapers, they've got banned from Old Trafford. Now, to me, I don't know about you, Kevin, but to me, that sounds a bit like censorship. So we'd never do an Amazon Prime documentary. But look, Daniel Levy, yeah, he would run rings around any of our negotiating team, no question about it. And Man City today, now I know it came out in the Sun. Personally, the Sun, we all know it's not exactly a credible news source. I don't think those journalists have a vocabulary of more than 1,000 words, to be fair, the way they write. But Man City are in the mix now, and apparently a salary of 300k per week for Harry Kane. Kane is currently on 200,000 per week, which shows how good a businessman Levy is. He got Kane into a 6-year deal in 2018, before the World Cup, I might add, before he got the Golden Boot. Here, Harry, tell you what, I'll give you 200k a week, 6-year deal. Sign that, good lad. Kane signs it. Now, meanwhile, we paid double that to Alexis Sanchez. You know what I'm saying? So Man City are now in the mix for 300k per week for Harry Kane on a 5-year deal. Again, it's according to the Sun, so I take that very lightly. And obviously, Manchester Evening News have jumped on as well, because as we know, that newspaper, that will spin any story on behalf of the club, because it has links to the club for donkey's years, and it doesn't want to lose their links with the club. But again, that's another publication that I read the extras on Twitter. I'm like, oh, good Jesus Christ, Manchester Evening News again. I don't know how you feel Manchester Evenings, but the stuff I read on it, I'm like, oh God, clickbait. Well, so would you get Harry Kane? Would you blow a budget on Harry Kane? Hands on table.
Do you know, I have thought about this today, mate, and I am like, do we miss the bus? Because this will be Harry Kane's last big move. Now, if Manchester City get him, we all know Aguero's ready to go. Now, it remains to be seen with me whether Manchester City would spend 125 million on a player. There is no doubt they've got the money, but we always hear this bullshit from Pep Guardiola. Not got the, it's not our style. We don't do this. I think their transfer record 60, 70 million, something along them lines. But to give Harry Kane 300,000 a week, that pretty much breaks their wage structure then. And you could argue the same thing happened at Manchester United when Alexis Sanchez come in. I think it caused unrest. There would have been other players in that team going, what was he picking up? 500,000 a week, more or less.
Yeah.
Let's all take a minute to let that sink in, right? Alexis Sanchez, £500,000 a week. You know yourself, right? Any walk of life you're in, if you're on a building site, and let's just say for argument's sake, you're on £100 a shift and somebody else is on £1,000 a shift and they're not as good as you, it causes conflict, doesn't it? You're going to go to the powers above and say, well, listen here, sunshine, I'm digging bastard holes all day. I want to be on more money than him. He's useless. He's always smoking fags. He's always talking. He gets nothing done. I want to be on the same as him. So it does bring up that thing of the minute you start offering these silly wages out, and United could get caught with this with the Paul Pogba thing. It's their own fault for not tying him down to a deal. But if he wants 400 grand a week and Raiola wants him to get that, they will have to pay that. Otherwise, you are going into the transfer market and you're looking at nearly 100 million to replace that player, whereas the 400 grand a week over a certain amount of time outweighs that. But it's it's a catch-22 situation, isn't it? So as a business model, how do you roll with that, Jay?
I'm glad you brought up the Pogba issue. I personally don't believe he's done enough over 4 years. Now, again, he had this year for me has been his best year. For me, it's been his best year. I know people in pre-season might argue, but 400k a week for a player that, to quote Roy Keane, hasn't exactly been putting up trees the last 4 years. I personally wouldn't pay it, but I'm not controlling the purse strings, I should say. But to put in context, they can't afford him to go into the final year of the contract and to go on a free. So to lose him twice on a free, that's a nuclear option. And then again, if he signs, say, a 4-year deal, I guarantee you, year into that deal, Raiola will be twerking around Europe again, trying to get him out of the club. Guarantee, because that's what Raiola does. So you also have to think, if, for argument's sake, PSG come in with a bid of 60 mil, which would be good money when you're left in the contract, Pogba leaves. How much faith, Kevin, do you have that we can go along and get a like for like, which for me is Jack Grealish, who won't cost 60, it probably cost 80. Do you like, history would tell us our negotiating team are not clinical enough and fast enough to do those deals. So we could go in next season with no Paul Pogba and Martial still playing out in the left. And I feel if that happened, Martial, for me, would resent being on the left because he sees himself as being the key striker. So if we get Jadon Sancho, for argument's sake, then Mason becomes backup striker to Cavani. You've Martial on the left, where I don't think he wants to be, and then we're causing another problem at Martial. So there's an awful lot of little conundrums that can come into play here.
Let me throw that was a curveball. That you having that one? Throwing a curveball in, AJ. Right? I think we've established that you would not take Harry Kane purely down to the transfer budget. You rightly said if you had 300 million, you're in there. You're knocking on Levy's door.
Yeah,
you're offering
100%.
Offering whatever. I just want to throw a bit of a hypothetical question. It's easy for me to say, right? We're looking at. Don't give me that face, Jay. Right? Bear with me here. Bear with me. We're looking at Kane or Haaland. One or the other. You can have one or the other. Doesn't matter what transfer fee it is. Let's just say they're both 150 million each. You can choose one, right? Choose one and give me your reasons. Same with the comment section. Loads of people in the comment section here. I'll try and read some out in a bit once we get through this, but we'll pass this over to the Reverend Jay. See what he says.
That's actually a very easy question to answer. I pick Harry Kane every day of the week and 5 times on Sunday because Harry Kane will come in at 28 and he will stay the 4 or 5 years and be happy to be there. We won't be dealing with a fat ass Mino Raiola a year into the contract, 2 years into the contract, as I said, twerking all around Europe, dropping sound bites to any newspaper in Italy or Spain that will listen, saying that Haaland isn't happy at the club. The club isn't meeting his expectations, and he feels he could have a better career elsewhere. So that's actually a very easy one. And I know Haaland is younger. Yes, he is. But I personally, if I was running that club, I would deal as little as I could with Raiola. Harry Kane, the man comes across as an absolute gentleman. He really does. He'll come in, he'll do a job for us, and he'll stay for the 4 or 5 years, and he'll earn his contract. So Harry Kane, no question.
Man after my own heart. Do you know, I was thinking about this one today, and I'm like, Kane or Haaland, right? If you could guarantee me that Haaland would be at United for the next 10 years, I'm down with that. The one thing I'm not down with is the old factor of the old saying, innit? You lie down with dogs, you get fleas. And that's exactly what is going to happen if we get back into bed with Raiola. And the thing is, Haaland, we might get 2 really good years out of him. He will be moved on. We all know what Raiola did. A very important Champions League game before the Leipzig game when he comes out and he sets unrest on the night of a massive game for Manchester United. Unfortunately, we're knocked out. I'm not blaming it on that. I'm just saying these off the field circus things with Raiola, it's almost like, do you cut your ties with him? And I totally agree, Jay. Harry Kane, you would get 5 years. You know you would get loyalty out of this man. And there's the added thing that he is a Premier League player. He's done it. You add them 20-plus goals into our team, it makes a huge difference. Just one super chat, Jay, there to get onto. Peter Hare says, Jay, another British FC signing at 80 million. And what do you do with Donny, guys? No, Harry.
The Donny question. I think we all agree as a collective that Donny has been completely underutilized. And for me, he's been disrespected. Bringing that man on with 4 and 5 minutes to go, that's like something you do with a kid that's just out of the youth team and you want to give him the match day experience. So Donny van de Beek, I think he's been badly treated by Solskjaer. And Solskjaer, a lot of us will laud his man management. But it seems to me that he's a great man manager with his favourites, and we all know who they are. So Donny van de Beek, I'd say, if Donny van de Beek is not going to be used, and Solskjaer doesn't seem as part of his plans, then sell him. Show the man some respect and sell him. Don't treat him the way, for argument's sake, we treated Sergio Romero. Like Romero, for me, whenever he played, he was a phenomenal backup goalkeeper. He played every game last year in the Europa League up to the semi-final, dropped the semi-final, and we never saw him again because Dino came back, who apparently is Gigi Buffon reincarnated, and Romero is just jesting it out. So I think we have a history here of disrespecting players. And in any job, no matter if your job, Kevin, or my job, the basic thing you want from your player is respect. And I don't think Van de Beek, for me, from what I've seen, is getting it. That's my take on it.
Well, it's like you say, the time he's had on the pitch at Old Trafford, I don't think any of us can understand it. You know, my mate Phil Forehead, he's got a massive forehead. Anyway, he got on the pitch at the protest at Old Trafford. So he was running around on the pitch for 15 minutes like a balloon. And his claim to fame now is that he's been out on the pitch, had more time on the Old Trafford pitch than what Donny van de Beek has, which is crazy. Phil Forehead, what a lad. Listen, we're going to move this one on slightly now, Jay. Oh, God. Comments flying in. Fair play to everybody. We are looking at the statement that Joel Glazer has come out with today. I think Jay's got this one prepared, so prepare yourself for it, and we will see exactly what Joel Glazer had said.
As this is the notebook, we got a little love letter today from Joel Glazer, and I'm quoting directly. I'm looking forward to the meeting with the fans forum to hear the views and be part of a constructive discussion. I firmly believe that this can open a new era of positive dialogue and cooperation between the club and the fans. So, are you free, Kevin, on the 4th of June?
Yes.
Right. You and I then are going to go on a little date to Old Trafford. We're going to go to the fan forum and we're going to meet Joel and have nice coffee, tea and biscuits. Because I'm sure, Kevin, our invitations shall be duly in the post.
We'll have more than tea and coffee, Jay. I'll be bringing the big guns with me. Don't you worry about that, sunshine.
Can you believe the audacity of that man, Kevin? New era of positive dialogue and cooperation, aka please stop protesting. Nothing to see here. Move along. I'm shocked. I read that this morning. I was like, what the hell?
I tell you what I smell, mate. I smell bullshit. And it's 2 words there that you have to look at. And that statement, the way it's been prepared, buzzwords. That is everything that they think. And that is how, what would you say, disconnected these owners are to Manchester United fans. And let's not forget, they refer to us as customers, not even fans. Mm-hmm. So all this does not wash. This has all been nicely prepared in an office. Wouldn't even be surprised if they didn't even write this themselves. They probably had some PA who, you know, put this bullshit together, some PR spin. Let's put this out. The last thing we want is more protests at Old Trafford. This anti-Glazer thing's ramping up again. So we need to throw some out. It's like the response to the last one. United fans get the game called off. However you look at it, wrongly or rightly, fans like Phil Forehead running on the pitch at Old Trafford, getting the match called off. And you look at it, and prior to that, 16 years, we've not heard a word from the Glazers. The only time we see them, maybe the odd cup final day, they'll turn up, getting selfies in the crowd with Woodward and all that, celebrating a cup win. But we've had nothing. So I'm sorry, it is too late now. 16 years is a long time. We will never, ever establish a connection with these owners. You know, they need to, for starters, pay the debt off, put back in the 1.6 billion they've took out the club. They need to invest in Old Trafford. We all know if you buy a house, you know, you don't just move in and it's sound. Things go wrong with it. You have to invest in that house, the upkeep of it. I said it the other week on the show. When it rains at Old Trafford, I live in Manchester myself. It pisses down a hell of a lot. The roof leaks. You know, we're supposed to be an elite club, the biggest club in the world, arguably. And the roof leaks at Old Trafford.
And that leaking roof has been going on for quite some time. That's been going on, to my knowledge, about 2 years. This morning, when I went through my Twitter account, one of my followers put up a picture of the she obviously was on the roof in one of the stands, and all you could see was rusted girders. So they're not even painting over. Like hire someone to go in with a sander, sand it down, lads, and paint it. It's not, it won't cost that much. But of course, Ed Woodward would probably say it's not part of our current financial projections. And as you said, Kevin, you move into a house, you buy a house. As years go on, your once pristine walls, because a couple of kids are running around with Nutella in their hands, are going to destroy the fucking walls. You know, outside, you need to upkeep your property. So the stadium is the centerpiece of the entire club, and they don't even perform basic maintenance. But all of a sudden, oh, Joel cares. He's going to come to Manchester. He's going to have a chat with the fan forum. Joel, sitting it, mate.
Just a couple.
We better move on, chats. Kevin.
Sorry,
go ahead. Super chats.
Hey, very quickly. There is one on the screen there from Roger Benjamin who says, Kev, the only signing who can save our midfield is Johnny Dexter. Get Dave Firth back too for physio. And we have another one from Kiru is how you say it. I feel so bad that Jay even had to read out loud, wouldn't wipe my arse with it. So many words with little action. And that was going to be my reference to the Sun before, when you're on about, you know, stories that come out in the Sun. And I always say that. I wouldn't even wipe my arse on it. I'd rather, I don't know, use my hand.
The last comment will be lost on most people. The Johnny Dexter reference, there was a comic back in my childhood called Roy of the Rovers. And Johnny Dexter was a centre midfield enforcer, like Roy Keane kind of character. That was tough as nails. He was a character in Roy of the Rovers who, at the end of his career, actually got a transfer to Melchester Rovers and played with Roy Race. But I digress. There you are now.
There you go.
About bringing you back in the day, Johnny D.
Yeah, like it. Great stories. I think Phil Forehead played in that team as well, did it? Everyone's loving Phil Forehead in the comments section. Anyway, everyone thinks he's some fictional character. He is actually he's a roofer. In fact, we could get him in at Old Trafford. We could get him to. I'll give him a ring later on. Yeah.
But bear in mind though, Ed Woodward will only want to mates rates.
Oh, hey, Phil Forehead, 50 quid a day. Cash in on, like, it doesn't go through the tax.
Sound.
Yeah.
A story broke today in Marca, the Spanish newspaper that is literally a mouthpiece for Real Madrid. a young little lad from Uruguay called Mauro Ambare. He plays in a CDM in a dual pivot beside a tough Serbian character called Makisovic. He's 25, as I said. He can play CDM box to box, but all season he's been playing in a dual pivot. 2 years left in his contract, a release clause of 30 million euros. However, Getafe are languishing at the bottom end of La Liga. Therefore, it's a possibility, according to Marca, that the Getafe will be open to an offer of about 21 million euros. What do you think? Does this spark to you, Kevin, of a little bit of Glazernomics?
I would say so, but at the same point, I mean, listen, right? He could work at Manchester United. You don't necessarily have to be in the market for the big name players. A prime example of this, and I think a club that's run really, really well, we only have to look back to the cup final at the weekend and how well, you know, Leicester City. I mean, look at the celebrations after that game. You know, the owners are on the pitch, you know, they're embracing it. They're hugging the FA Cup like a baby. It's a family-run club, run really well. But one thing I will say that's really good about Leicester is their transfer policy and recruitment. And let's not forget, N'Golo Kante was, you know, chosen by Leicester and their scouting network. They brought him in. Yes, they lost him, but what a fantastic find. And they continue to do it. Tielemans as well has been a fantastic signing. And it does beg the question sometimes. You look at United's scouting network and think, you know, are we really there? Do we, or sometimes, you know, you could look at a player like this and bring him in. Now, if he's going to complement the likes of Fernandes and that, free up these players in midfield, then it might work. But at the same time, this is Manchester United, and I do tend to look and think that word does come out, Glazonomics, where I think, is it? And how many times in the paper do we read, you know, it's the cheaper option? And the minute you hear cheaper option with Manchester United, it tends to be the not so good version of the actual one that's really good and the one that you need, which isn't good enough for a club like Manchester United.
Yeah, like successive managers from Van Gaal to Mourinho to Ole, they go to Woodward. They give him a list of players. They don't even get their third choice, I would argue. It's their fourth, fifth choice that are signed. But anyone assigned is signed on mega wages, which, again, that makes no sense. Would you not pay the asking fee, get him on a long-term contract, and pay him a little bit less in wages? Just, I'm no economics expert, but again, this is the club that shells out £26 million per year on 3 goalkeepers. Again, Kevin, what we know. Next story from Marca is Real Madrid will let Varane go for 60 million sterling. That's very good of you, lads. He's got a year left his contract. He wants 60 million. I know Real Madrid are greedy buggers, but 60 mil in a contract. Which means Matt Judge and Ed Woodward will probably give 75 and sign the deal because they know it'll sell jerseys. What do you reckon on that one, man?
Varane, big name, would be interested, but what, 60 million with a year left? To me, it seems like they're probably trying to have our pants down, but they'll be looking, they'll be touting him out. I'm sure there will be other suitors involved, but it's up to the clubs involved in that really to look and not get involved in a bidding war. Real Madrid are not in a strong position. I mean, in theory, that is like Manchester United now touting Paul Pogba out for what? About 100 and odd million and saying, well, that's the price. And they'll look at the same situation and go, well, wait on a minute, sunshine. Do you know what I mean? It's 100 and odd million for Pogba. He's got 1 year left on his contract. And if you're going to be really smart about it, you'll say, well, we'll talk to Raiola. And if he wants to come to us, we'll wait a year. Real Madrid have done it, do it. PSG, Juventus, all the big clubs do it. They'll just sit it out and wait. They're not going to invest 60 million in a player, are they? And Manchester United Kevin, won't, certainly.
Get ready to catch a curveball.
I'm ready for it.
Right, catch that curveball. Okay, right. Would you do a Varane Pogba straight swap Deal done.
You're interesting, me. I'm hearing you. Because that's going to be the similar kind of fee. Now, I understand that Pogba FC will be going wild. Even our very own KG, who thinks that Pogba's, about 250 million in today's current market, even with a year left on his contract. So some people will take that. I think that is totally a matter of opinion on what you would do. Will Ed Woodward do that? Because let's not forget, Jay, how much money does Paul Pogba make United? Ties with Adidas. He's the face of Adidas. Yeah. He's the pin-up boy for Manchester United. So in that sense, you're looking and thinking, I can't see United doing that. I think they're going to pull all the stops out to keep Pogba.
I agree with you. I think they will lay out the red carpet and whatever Pogba wants, and they will pay him for. I wouldn't be surprised if that went over 400,000 per week, because as you said, he is the Adidas icon of the club, sponsored by them, and Adidas fingers in markets in every country in the world. Therefore, for the club, it makes business sense to keep Adidas sweet as well. Not that you should keep my sponsors sweet, but they kind of have to, because 2 weeks ago, the Huck Group pulled out. Manchester company, who own My Protein. Lads, if you're watching, I'm looking for a sponsor, so if My Protein want to come in and give me creatine, protein, and all the jazz, I'm open to it. But I'm joking here. The Huck Group, 200 million sponsorship deal. They were going to take over from the Aeon on the training kit. Manchester company pulled the plug. Also, at the moment, Kevin, online, there's a lot of the fan base, and I've seen it on Twitter, and I've done it myself. If you go to any of the companies that are sponsoring the club, Tag Heuer, Kohler, Adidas, or any of them, and you go and you put items into your basket, let it sit there. You don't order. Then you go back and cancel the order. That every time a fan does that, that costs the sponsor about £2 or euros. I'm not too sure it's pounds or euros on Google Ads. And I read during the week that attack on the sponsors could run into over $1 billion over the next couple of months if fans kept doing it. So
can I just say something, Jay?
I've met some with sponsors. Yes, go ahead.
Jay, the United stand does not condone that. We are purely just speculating on what people are doing, yes?
We listen, we have to follow the news. We have to follow the news. It is G and Kevin show, but it's also a news show. Last bit of news from today. Milan want to pay for Dalot. I would just pull the trigger. Adios. Good luck. Good night. 13 mil. Back pocket.
Taxi.
Move on. Taxi. Okay, Kevin. Yeah, I would think so. Okay, Kevin, I want to move on here. My fellow Irishman, Cork's finest, Roy Morris Keane, was finally inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. Finally. I stress finally because Roy, even though he's won 7 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, he was not one of the original inductees, which was Thierry Henry, who won 2 Premier League titles and 3 FA Cups. People are going to say in the comments and in the free seats, I'm biased because I'm Irish. No, I'm biased because I'm a Manchester United fan. That man literally, Roy Keane literally fought wars on the pitch for our club. Dragged us into the Champions League final in 1999. If you want to watch a captain's performance, watch 2 things. 99 against Juventus. We're losing 2-0. Roy gets the first goal with last minute header. It's 2-1. And then York gets 1, Cole gets 1. We get to the final. The second game then is Arsenal back in 05. And Roy's in the tunnel. They're lining up. Yeah. The Arsenal, like Vieira, that gentleman Vieira, that everyone thinks is so nice, is having a go at little Gary Neville. And Keane's having none of it. So go on YouTube, go Roy Keane, Turin 99, and Roy Keane Tunnel Vieira. And you will see straight away what type of captain and leader we had at our club for those years. And back a few minutes ago, Kevin, we were discussing how players get disrespected by the club. Roy Keane was completely disrespected by the club in 2005. Completely disrespected. Roy Keane would acknowledge himself. He had another year, 18 months in him at top level. And then he was prepared to move on. And the way he got treated by Ferguson and David Gill after he made some comments on MUTV, but they were so bad apparently that the tape had to be destroyed. Jeez, I've never known a tape that has to be destroyed. It's that bad, it's going to blow up. And David Gill, but actually, I think I sent you a link before. It's Roy Keane and Gary Neville on a live show in Ireland, and Neville himself said there was nothing on it. It was the biggest player that he went at. It was actually Van der Sar, and Keane says to Van der Sar, "Listen, Edwin, you're here 5 minutes. You've done more interviews in 5 minutes than I had in 12 years, Edwin." I'm quoting Roy Keane back here. So Roy Keane was disrespected by this club. But finally, today, my man, Keano, the man, the myth, the legend, the motivator, is in the Premier League Hall of Fame, and not before time. Kevin, you've got a man that you want to speak of also.
The King. Eric the King.
El Rey.
Also inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. Long overdue, even though he was only the third or fourth name in there. But, the King. What can you say about the man? As a child growing up watching this man, for me, he was such a massive influence on what United has been built on under the Fergie years. You think of the class of 92 that would come out. I see Jay putting your collar up and loving that sunshine. He comes in, he's got these young players round him. We all remember the game at Villa Park. Is it 4-1 we get beat? Alan Hansen with the famous comment, "You'll never win anything with kids."
Yeah.
Shut up, you silly Scouse knobhead. You know what I mean? Manchester United go on that season to win the double. Eric Cantona was a major factor in that. He was the figure that these kids aspired to be like. You know, we had the spine of a great team, but Cantona, you had the likes of Beckham, Scholes, the Nevilles, but all these players, and they will all admit it, adored and looked up to Eric Cantona. He was the one that stayed behind after training to practice free kicks, all that kind of shit. And these players, you know, they seen that. It was infectious. And they all admit, the likes of Beckham used to stay behind, take free kicks because of what Eric Cantona did. So for that reason, and everything that Manchester United won, I will always... The day that Eric Cantona retired from Manchester United, I cried. And I don't mind saying that. I've admitted that in front of thousands of people. I don't care. I was sad. I was in disbelief, confusion, because I still believed he had a good few years left in him. So long live the King. Well and truly deserved to go into the Hall of Fame.
Kevin, I couldn't add anything more eloquent than that. I did rate him as one of the best players ever to play for the club. Like, you think of number 7 for United, you think in order chronology, not rating them best. Robson, Cantona, Ronaldo. That there are 7s. That's why, for me and for you as well, I know you'd agree, that 7 jersey is sacred. And that's another thing that the last couple of years, that 7 jersey was so disrespected for me. But finally, we have mi hombre Cavani, 16 goals, the best number 7 since Ronaldo, I would argue. So finally, that number 7 jersey is back with a world-class baller. Kevin,
Jay, just before that, quickly.
Yeah.
Our very good friend from the fan forum, Zane, is in the house.
Zane.
And my apologies, right? He's putting a super chat to say Pepe and Martinelli on fire today, and then he's put it through again. So, Mum's not going to be happy, mate, but thank you very much.
Zane, I'm going to quote Keno. All credit to mediocrity into the day, like, but it's Arsenal. We don't care. But thanks for Super Chat all the same.
Yeah. Let's crack on.
We have a few minutes. Yeah, we have a few minutes to go here, Kevin. So Kevin and I were discussing content for the show, and we are mindful that a lot of you watching weren't born when this event transpired. So we're going to give you a small little bit of history. But the history of this event put in motion wheels that saw us win multiple league titles and 2 Champions Leagues. Take you back, Kevin. FA Cup final, 1990. 3-3 draw with Crystal Palace. Great game, by the way, guys. You want to see a thriller? YouTube, Crystal Palace Man Utd FA Cup final. Second leg, Lee Martin scores. We win 1-0. Ferguson dropped Jim Leighton for Les Sealy. Remember that? Which was a ballsy move.
Mm-hmm.
So, 1991, it's the 30th anniversary on the 15th of May, 1991. United went to Rotterdam and beat a great Barcelona team who just won La Liga, and the following year in 1992 won the old European Cup. They beat a very, very good Johan Cruyff team. 2-1 in Rotterdam. There was 45,000 people in that ground, and the vast bulk of them were Manx. It was like a home game. Mark Hughes scored in the 68th minute. It was a phenomenal goal. He's out on literally the right wing.
That goal was insane.
The 2 defenders are running back to clear the ball. And if you watch it again, guys, both his feet are off the ground when he whacks the ball from a acute angle. And he says in an interview that I read, I had to hit it so hard to make sure the 2 defenders couldn't get to it. Then Brucey then had another shot with Bungle over the line, and you've got the final touch. Then Ronald Koeman scored a dinger of a free kick with 10 minutes to go. Then Clayton Blackmore, Mr. Sunbed himself, the players called Clayton Blackmore Mr. Sunbed, cleared off the line. And we beat a very good Barcelona team that night. I know you've got your own memories of it as well. 2 years later, United win their first Premier League title. 94, we do the double. 96, we do the double. 99, the triple. So for me, that European Cup Winners' Cup final and then at the Cup in 1990, they were the catalyst. And players get their hands on a trophy for the first time. Winning becomes infectious. And that is why Kevin and I agree that it's so imperative for United to win this Europa League. Kevin, your thoughts on Rotterdam 91?
Rotterdam 91, right, was what I would class as a springboard for Manchester United. Alex Ferguson had been in Scotland where he was managing, managed to break up the old firm, even won, it was the Cup Winners' Cup that he won in Scotland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He'd won Aberdeen, that previously with Aberdeen. Yeah. So coming to Manchester United then, and there's probably a lot of the younger viewers out here that are like, what is the Cup Winners' Cup? Because it isn't actually a trophy that's out there now, but it was a prestigious trophy there at the time. The game itself, like you say, 2-1, Mark Hughes scored 2. Well, one of the goals was absolutely fantastic. It was nail-biting towards the end. I remember Ronald Koeman with a free kick. He was absolutely brilliant. Even like you mentioned, Les Sealy in goal. God rest his soul. Fantastic character.
Les Sealy, yeah.
Fantastic servant to Manchester United. What an absolute character he was. But yeah, to any of the younger lot out there, me and Jay spoke about this, and we're like, how do we get this across? We don't want to come across as two old, boring geezers going on about the old days.
We might be old, but we sure as hell ain't boring.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Phil Forehead's certainly not boring. I will be onto him to address getting this Old Trafford roof fixed. Like I said, it's 50 quid a day and it's cash in hand anyway, so the taxman does not get involved with it. Have you got
Kevin,
anything?
You were saying off air that your dad was at the game. Your dad was at the game.
I remember the Rotterdam 91. Yeah. I remember him leaving, and I cried because I wanted to go with him. I was 11 years old at the time, and I remember him leaving with one of them. Remember in like the 80s, 90s, everyone had one of them leather like Gola bags or Adidas bags that a carry thing. You literally go in for like a 4-day trip. It was tiny. You carried a couple of beers in it and just like a spare pair of boxer shorts or something. So he took off, but I didn't realize that the actual coach journey that they'd taken was a 24-hour coach journey. So that's why he was like, I'm not bringing in an 11-year-old lad. He was probably thinking it's going to be hard enough looking after myself without bringing in an 11-year-old. So I was disappointed. He brought me a T-shirt back and a scarf. I was made up. And obviously he got to see a piece of history, which was great. And he always said, I'll take you to another final. And in fairness, he kept his word, went to loads out throughout the 90s into the early 2000s, which has been great.
Yeah, just the memories of that today when I was researching and floating back, I was slap bang in the middle of the equivalent in Ireland of GCSEs. And again, in the middle of them, I had exam the following day. My dad, Michael Daly, in his infinite wisdom, brings me on the lash in Limerick to a sports bar, which should remain nameless because I was underage. But back then, nobody kind of cared back then. It was different times. And, you know, let's just say a good time was had by all. And yes, I did make the exam the following day. But let's just say, in typical Irish fashion, don't tell your mother.
Yeah. Wise words, Jay. We are up, believe it or not, Jay. I don't know how we have just managed to do this. We are up to an hour long. Have you got anything left? Any words of wisdom? Any shots you want to fire my way? Anything you want to say?
All I want to say is that Kevin and I have known each other informally probably now about 3 years. And it's really been our collective experience with the United Stand that's brought it together. And I'm looking for the day, Kevin, that we actually finally get to meet in person, because I've no doubt, like I clash with a friend now that I've met, you know, through football. And, you know, we obviously during lockdown, we've got a lot closer. So for me, my involvement with you and the stand has been one of my few highlights of lockdown.
I'm welling up here, mate. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting you to come back at me with some kind of smart ass comment or some.
No,
you better
no,
not be. Are you being sarcastic here or what?
No, I'm being genuine.
You know what I mean? I'm prepared for some kind of wisecrack.
Seriously, look. When I'm on the post match, I've got to give the cold-hearted analysis, you know, and be analytical, be clinical, and I got to do the same on the radio. But I decided tonight on this show, I was going to show the viewers a bit more the real me in normal everyday life. You know, obviously I'm alpha male, I'm a talker, but you know, I'm actually not that bad, lads, you know.
Yeah. Jay, I love you too, mate. Honestly.
Love you, man.
Love you. So let me just establish now, right? You've got nothing else to say. No?
I'm good.
Right. Well, we will leave it there because this is the first, hopefully, of many shows that me and Jay will do. If you've liked the video, make sure you put a like on it. If you didn't like it, don't dislike it, or we're going to send Jay around to your house. That is a threat.
If you didn't like it, I'm going to find where you live. I'll find you. So like it.
Yeah. And basically, you have been watching. Oh, go on.
No.
Oh, God. Anyway, you have been watching the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand.
Good night, guys.